Bambiz Marketing presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys attract clients without wasting time or money. I'm your host, Amy Hurst. Let's dive in.
The whole goal for your webinar, it's not to teach, it's to inspire. Of course, on the outside, it'll look like you want to teach them. That's just the wrapping on your presentation, guys. That's just the wrapping. Of course, you want to teach them, but the goal, the actual gift that's inside that package is inspiration. You got this. You got this. You want them to be nodding yes when they're watching your webinar or your online workshop. They want to be inspired. You could give the most amazing educational workshop. If you don't inspire them, they won't be inspired to take that next step with you. So if you don't inspire, they won't want to hire.
That was me in our training session that we did recently with our group of elder law and estate planning attorneys. Because if you're an attorney, chances are you give webinars. But what if your webinar isn't converting? Are webinars not effective anymore? Or should you be moving on to another method to get future clients? The thing is, webinars can be really effective if you know how to do them right. In this podcast episode, I'll share with you what I shared with our clients, the 9 secret hacks to turn your run-of-the-mill webinar into a webinar that converts. Let's dive in.
So the 9 secrets to the most effective masterclass, specifically for you guys, for your audience. Now, this same stuff would not be able to work for fitness gurus or even other areas of law. This is specifically for the older generation who are looking for answers in your field. So let's jump into it. Secret number 1, you need to bring some passion, some enthusiasm, so that way they're engaged with you. If you're boring, they will be bored. If you do not want to be there talking, you can guarantee they don't want to be there either, and they won't watch. Secret 2. This is the one thing that I want you to walk away with. This is the most important thing. This is the secret of what makes webinars that convert and webinars that don't do anything. This is what you need to do for your webinar. During your webinar, I want you to focus on this. This is your goal. The whole goal for your webinar, it's not to teach, it's to inspire. Of course, on the outside, it'll look like you want to teach them. That's just the wrapping on your presentation, guys. That's just the wrapping. Of course, you want to teach them, but the goal, the actual gift that's inside that package is inspiration. You got this. You got this. You want them to be nodding yes when they're watching your webinar or your online workshop. They want to be inspired. You could give the most amazing educational workshop. If you don't inspire them, they won't be inspired to take that next step with you. So if you don't inspire, they won't want to hire. Just think of that coin term. You need to inspire them that, yes, they do have a problem. You need to inspire them that, yes, you do have the solution, and that, yes, you can help them. Secret number 3, keep your slides very basic. How basic? Kindle basic. I want you to keep this in mind. A lot of the slideshows that I watched from law firms, now they're all well-intentioned. I know it, because you want to give as much information as possible. So you cram as much on your presentation as possible with tiny words, and there's so many words, and you want to cram so much information on there that the font obviously has to be small, but this is for the older groups. So you need to have bigger fonts, fewer words. Just think about it when you're making your own slides, make it like that, like Kindle. But that being said, secret number 4, you need to mix up your visuals. What do I mean by that? You need to keep things changing on the screen, because people like to have that distraction, the moving objects. So when you're watching my webinar, every 30 seconds or so, the screen will change. You'll see me, and then you'll see a slide, and then a video, and then me, and then maybe a video and the slide. I'll use props. I'll use my hands a lot. Body language helps. Get their attention, so that way they'll want to stay all the way to the end. Secret number 5. This is the same thing with your YouTube video, guys. You need to do this in your online presentations as well. Include that hook in the very beginning, within the first 2-3 minutes. You need to tell them that they need to stick around till the end, because at the end, you'll give them XYZ. So that way they'll say, oh, okay, I'll sit through this 20-minute webinar because I want that at the end. That's what you want them to think. Secret number 6 goes in hand with secret number 5. Save what you know that they came for until the very end. It's kind of like the live workshops, the live webinars. People are there for the end. So save the really good stuff, save it for the end. Certainly save it for after you ask for a phone call with them. And yes, you do have to ask. Now, here's one thing I couldn't do with my webinar, but you can, is to include a story. Include lots of stories. In fact, don't do very much with your online slideshow. Just use as many stories as possible because it helps people relate to you. It helps people think that they're not alone. If they hear a story and they'll think, oh, I'm so glad I'm not the only one going through that. I wonder how this lawyer helped them through that situation. It's like an instant trust builder. Secret number 8, only focus on one thing. So that is where all the well-intentions go out the door for the legal webinars that I watched, because they wanted to cram in so much information that they tried to focus on so many topics that it got really complicated. So only focus on one question that you want to answer for the main part of your presentation. But then, of course, at the very end, you'll have that Q&A where you're answering all the questions that you know that they came for. Like, how much does it cost? That's a big question, but you're not going to answer it until the end. So during the main point of your presentation, just talk about one thing and talk slow. So that way it's easier for them to follow. Secret number 9 is to ask them a question. And you'll see this slide right here in my own presentation, is to ask them a question. And it'll pause the webinar and it'll get them thinking. And this is how you can bring up what you want them to do, because they need to know what the next step is, guys.
Yeah, so making a webinar takes a lot of time, especially if you want to put in all of the right stops on the very first go. But the thing is that you do it once and then it's on repeat and it just lives forever. So if you want to do a webinar that converts, spend the time to do it right the first time. Really put in all of that effort. Include those 9 secret hacks that we just talked about, and you will have made yourself a webinar that converts. Thanks for listening to the Elder Law Growth Podcast, the place to be for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. If you liked this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you are listening to this podcast. If you'd like to outsource your marketing to our team, go to bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.